Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well today. And my God, there's a lot to talk about. But I think the one thing that's on everyone's mind right now, as in the title of the video, is that Keir the Traitor Starmer is now facing a police investigation for breaking the electoral law. Now, you'll notice how I don't use allegedly. That is simply because there is evidence that proves it beyond and to the inclusion of every reasonable doubt. If it was unconfirmed where Keir the Traitor Starmer has done this or not, I would say alleged. But no, it's straight from the horse's mouth. It's no wonder he has a long face. Anyway, it's straight from the horse's mouth though. Oh God, and there's a wasp around. Where he basically says that he brought his family out of his family home into this £18 million mansion. I am, of course, talking about Lord Ali's mansion, where he even admits to saying that he moved over there so that his son could study for his GCSEs in peace. So he basically tells everyone that he's moved over to Lord Ali's mansion. Now here's the thing. The reason he's under investigation is because he did not put his actual residence on this form of some kind, where basically you have to fill this in to say you're being truthful about where you live, so that you can stand in for the general election. Now, last time I checked, there's only one general election that Keir the Traitor Starmer has stood for, and you don't need to be a genius to figure this one out, because he has been using Lord Ali's mansion for his address rather than his own personal address. Remember, this is the same Keir the Traitor Starmer that says that it's none of our business what Labour staff do in their private lives, which is completely untrue because they're standing in a public office. And if this was the actual big secret that the mainstream media wanted to cover up, well, it's out in the open now. Now, if it was something to do with COVID, for example, he went out and partied and what have you, while the Queen was mourning her dead husband, oh wait. But in all seriousness, if it was something like that, obviously he shouldn't be investigated for that unless there is a serious infringement of the law, as this is just what he's doing personally. But bear in mind, he was one of the knob jockeys who was telling us we all needed to stay at home and we couldn't visit our families over Christmas, while he went out getting shit-faced with his mates. Well, the only way I'm getting shit-faced is if an elephant takes a crap on my head. Anyway, he was going out partying, getting shit-faced, while we had to sit at home. Likewise, now in this particular situation, Keir the Traitor Starmer doesn't want it getting out that he's potentially broken electoral law, as it brings his entire prime ministerial position into question. Unequivocally, you cannot justify a prime minister who has broken electoral rules, even if it is just on a form, for him to be in office. You can't justify that shit. Now, moving off of him ever so temporarily, I want to talk about a few other people who've had to deal with this same shit, and to put it into perspective for you of how serious this is. Does anyone know Tom Nuttall, former leader of the UKIP party? Well, he had to go through extremely stringent measures. He had to fight tooth and nail to showcase to the media and the judiciary that his accidental form filling, his mistake, was just an honest mistake and not an act of fraud. So that's one particular case. Then we come to Boris the Clown Johnson, which he should have put my address is at a Big Ten, the big house, top house, whatever it's called, the clown residence. Anyway, he had to go through this same thing. He went under this investigation. Turned out he made no mistakes. However, and this is the big one, Keir the Traitor Starmer, Angela Rayner, and Rachel Reeves all basically came out vying for Boris the Clown Johnson's blood. Now, obviously, I say this metaphorically speaking, but they all basically clambered on top of one another to call for his resignation. Keir the Traitor Starmer is on record saying that he should do the right thing and go. Now, do you see why I put this into perspective? It paints a very broad picture of the hypocrites in the the Labour Party. Or maybe I was right first time. These people, when it's somebody else, will vie for someone's blood. But as soon as Keir the Traitor Starmer does a little fucky-wucky, oh look, the whole room goes silent. The whole fucking room decides, oh no, it's okay for Keir the Traitor Starmer to do it. That's basically what they're doing by not saying anything. They're doing it through omission. Now I ask you, is that okay? I say not. I say no. And I hope this police investigation is being done by people who are not crooks, who are not traitors to their own country. I hope it's being done by what few good officers are left in the police force. I want to see them bring this man to justice, because the bottom line in this particular part of the video is that he has broken electoral rules without any shadow of a doubt by willingly filling out that form to say he lived at Lord Ali's Manor. He has willfully lied about his place of residence. But of course the mainstream media won't tell you this. You know the drill, folks, because say it with me, it doesn't suit the narrative. The establishment won't grass up Keir the Traitor Starmer, even though they're supposed to report impartially and without bias the facts of what's going on, report the news based on facts. No, I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to do everything they can to cover this up. But they can't anymore. Not that it's now in the public eye. I mean, at this point, Keir the Traitor Starmer must be absolutely shitting himself. I bet his tailor is going to make a killing now. Anyway, he's probably shitting himself right now. He is probably worried that he could be the first Prime Minister in our history to go to jail for committing a crime, being fraudulent before getting into a prime ministerial position, or at bare minimum, the context of the crime. It will be the first time. So, I hope you are wishing, as am I, that Keir the Traitor Starmer is finally brought to justice on the back of this. Because I really want to see the man go down that hall, literally with the judge saying, send him down. Because at the end of the day, Keir is unequivocally guilty. Now, I've spoken enough about that. I want to also talk about something else. I want to talk about this nonsense about Black History Month and these lessons regarding people's genders, because I am going to be linking in the description below a video more recently posted by Paul Thorpe about his 6-year-old granddaughter, I believe it was, or 6-year-old daughter, whoever it is. But anyway, this girl is apparently being selected by the school, and Paul Thorpe received a full 2-page letter saying, basically, we want to put your girl in for special sessions where she gets to learn about respecting other people's cultures and, of course, learn about the 75 million genders that they claim there are. Now, before I go any further in this, I am going to do Paul Thorpe and any person watching a great service. I am going to give you, free of charge, a crash course, a very, very good lesson indeed, in genders. Free of charge, like I said. Won't cost you a penny. Might cost you a couple of brain cells later though. Anyway, I'm going to teach you this. I can do it so well, in fact, I can do it in 5 words. Though, I wouldn't recommend sticking me in front of the kids, because they may not like my mouth. But I digress. 5 words. And if you want, you can even say it with me. I'm even going to repeat this several times, so the point really sinks in. So, Paul Thorpe, hope you're listening, and anybody else is listening. 5 words, here we go. There are only 2 genders. Say it with me, folks. Repeat after me. There are only 2 genders. Yes, that's it. There are only 2 genders. Yes, one more time. There are only 2 genders. Because that's the cold, bitter truth at the end of the day. There aren't 80 genders or 150 genders. Just 2. Male and female. You were either born as a man with something very long, or you were born with a woman with a pair of sacks here and a cave downstairs. Now in my case, I have a little bit of both, to be fair. I've got a banging set of tits and I've got something long down there. But we're not here to talk about my unusual circumstances, shall we say. The fact these schools even have the audacity to try and brainwash those kids into thinking that there's like 70 million different genders is absolutely mind-boggling. The fact that these poor children are having to go through this, and then the Black History Month nonsense. If we're going to play that game, where's the White History Month? Where's the Sikh History Month? Where's the Christian History Month? But in all seriousness, as far as Black History Month is concerned, all this is positive discrimination. That's the cold, bitter truth on it. Because this isn't a matter of whether or not we should respect other people. This is a matter of, I would only respect a culture if it isn't parasitic in nature. So for example, Islam in particular, how they come to our country and then they go out of their way to basically preach their hatred of anyone who isn't a Muslim. Right, we're having a quick switch over. Unfortunately, this bus has had it, I think. But anyway, we weren't taught about different people's cultures. We weren't taught about Black History Month back in the fucking 1990s, where I went to Rainbow School. No, we were basically shown kids' programs, taught how to read, how to write, simple math, that kind of thing. At no point were we told there's 150 different genders. We were not told that we need to look at other people in a certain way because of the colour of their skin or their ideologies. We were told how to do simple maths, read and write and all that shit. And as I said, this Black History Month nonsense, all it is it is basically either positive discrimination at best or indirect discrimination at worst towards white people, which again the mainstream media are not going to be too keen to tell you. But as far as Black History Month is concerned, shall we mention the fact that, and don't just take my words for it, do research on this, because in London there is a certain demographic which, if you search up the colour of their skin, knife crime based on ethnicity, see what comes up. I'll tell you what will come up: the same ethnicity that these people want a history month on. Yeah. Don't just take my word for it though. Do the research. You're grown up, all adults, and basically can see this for yourself. That's something, again, the media won't tell you. That is something the schools won't tell you. They certainly won't tell the kids, nor should they, unless you get to older periods and you want to research into politics and all that shit. They should only be learning how to basically interact with people on a general level, as in be kind to one another, treat others with respect, no hitting, no punching, no spitting, blah, blah, blah. And of course, more importantly, they need to learn about how to do basic English and maths. Those are the important subjects. Not teaching someone what kind of fucking genders there are, or what history month it is, like Black History Month, or White History Month, or Muslim History Month. Last time I checked, they don't help shape a person. But of course, Islam would rather have people know about Islam, because obviously it then increases their numbers. And after all, they're already breeding like rabbits. They've already said in their Quran and themselves that the greatest weapon Islam has is the woman's womb. And obviously if they can get children on board as well, frankly, I want to throw up. But out of respect for the people who are down here waiting for the bus that I am as well, so they can get home, I'm not going to. But I will leave it to your imagination as to how scary a situation that would be if they're able to indoctrinate 6-year-old people into Islam. But I feel for Paul Forbes' kids. I feel for any person's kids, any parent's kids who have to go to these schools where they're teaching this woke crap, bluntly speaking, where they're being taught how to identify people, how they should treat other cultures. No, that's not how it works. Respect is earned, not given. Respect is a two-way street. If people respect us, then you respect them. That's the thing. I can't just go up to like any one of these people down here. My fat head is in the way. Anyway, I can't go to one of these people and start slagging them off and then expect them to treat me with respect. That's just not going to happen. That'd be like if I punched someone in the face and I said, you're not going to do anything to me. Of course they're going to punch me back. My point is that most people, they have this rare thing these days. It's called common sense. Or bare minimum, parents should raise their kids to treat others with respect. That's a basic common sense principle, not something that needs to be taught by schools. And I highly recommend that any parent that gets the same kind of shit that Paul Thorpe has, where he received that letter basically saying, we want to teach your son or daughter how to identify people or how to respect other people's cultures, while we basically indirectly discriminate against yours, go into the school and tell them that you don't want this DEI crap. And simply tell them, if they want to preach about the different genders, they're trying to hold workshops on this shit. That's what pisses me off more than anything. Brainwashing parents to brainwash their kids into wokery. But go into the schools and tell them, very simply, the 5-word phrase that I've mentioned earlier, and you can say it again with me if you so wish. There are only 2 genders. And then tell them that we do not want to be taught pointless crap like Black History Month. Or if they try to force the issue, ask them where White History Month is and see how quick they respond. That's the thing with these woke NPCs. You can destroy their arguments just like that because they preach crap. That's all they do. Complete and utter crap. There is nothing about those 2 things that says, oh yes, this is going to raise my child up in this society to be a responsible adult that is contributing to society. Do you know what that's going to teach them? It's going to teach them intolerance. It's going to teach them how to hate being white. It's going to teach them that it's perfectly okay to respect cultures that have a massive demographic in London that basically like to go around and stab each other. Or what about Islam, which literally hates every other religion, race, if they are not Muslim. I'll put it to you. Do you think it's okay? I don't. But unfortunately, more woke teachers are coming out with this crap. And we need to fight against it. Because I don't want children growing up in a society where they're taught to hate one another, or hate being white, or to sympathise with basically hate preachers and terrorists, or people that go around and stab others to death. I don't want that for any child. But these schools do. Our government does. Radical Islam does. And this is the cold, bitter truth that people may not want to accept. When those illegals that have come over here finally get the word to go on the attack, there will be civil war. Just like that. Civil war will break out, and we will be forced to defend ourselves. And do you want people who are going to question whether or not you're a male or a female, or want to sympathise with Islamic scumbags, or black people who want to go and stab other black people? Or would you rather have people who understand the shit that's heading this way, who are ready to fight for their kids? I'll leave that thought with you. But at the end of the day, we should be looking after our kids. Nearly went through the bloody bus because there was a stupid cyclist coming along and didn't look. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we need parents raising their kids on love, taking responsibility basically, and we need kids not being taught crap in schools. Whether it's this gender nonsense, whether it's the Black History Month, whether it's the eco climate or what have you, we only need to teach kids English, maths, other core subjects when they get up to middle and high school, and basically how to be able to read and write. We don't need to teach them about other people's cultures. We don't need to teach them, or at least we don't want to force religion on kids. That's the bottom line. And we certainly don't want to force other people's cultures onto our kids, because that is not the way forward for this society. And when I say love, of course, from parents, I obviously mean a proper brand of love, and not, I don't want to say the Islamic type of love because it's really indiscriminate, but the wrong type of love, shall we say. Like I said, the mere idea of that really scares me. It really does beg the question, why do you think parents prefer to take their kids to homeschool? Why do you think they prefer to teach their kids at home? It's because they're worried about what these public schools are teaching them. That's the cold, bitter truth. Some of these parents don't want this DEI crap fed to their kids, because they know, as I said, it doesn't help society. All it does is it'll create division, which is ultimately what Keir the Traitor Starmer wants. He wants division because if we unite, who he claims to be the far right, if we unite, he knows he's screwed. He knows he's cooked. But then at this point, Keir the Traitor Starmer is really on borrowed time right now. He will be lucky to see the end of October now, let alone the end of the year, because of this potential breach of the electoral law. That's the truth on it. Thank you. That's the truth on it. And like I said, I think kids should only be should be taught on loving thy neighbour, loving one another, respecting everyone, teaching them basic maths and science when they get to their first school. Or maybe not so much science, but English and maths definitely. They need to know how to be able to read and write. Handwrite as well, ideally, but mind you, I can't really handwrite for toffee. And look how I'm doing. I'm at least working. I'm at least paying my taxes and all that shit. But obviously that entirely depends upon my company, who obviously I'm not going to name unless they decide to get rid of me. And it's not because of performance issues, or it's because I broke some kind of policy or what have you. If they decide to get rid of me for political reasons, then I will expose them. Otherwise, I'm not mentioning them. You see, I do like to think that when my mum and my dad and my nan and my granddad raised me, I'd like to think they taught me all the right things. And that is not saying it as a kind of a I am morally superior than thou kind of perspective. It's just a matter of how I grew up. I do not consider myself superior to anybody, because at the end of the day, man should be equal, woman should be equal. And remember, there's only two genders, but they raised me out of love, out of care, and they still care for me to this day. Maybe not so much my father, because he didn't really want to have anything to do with us, but I'm not here to talk about personal issues. My point is, my parents have raised me with love, with care, taught me how to take responsibility, even if it had to be drilled into my head with a Black & Decker, and I think I can still feel the drill hole to this day. Anyway, I was at least raised on those core values. What do we have here? Delivery. Wonder what this could be. Right, well, let's see together, shall we? If I can get the damn thing open. Oh. Well, would you look at that? Yep, this manifesto book. And you can bet there is going to be a good few hours of reading this. 350 fucking pages, Jesus. Be the largest book I've ever read. Anyway, enough about manifesto. Basically, I was raised with love, care, and the ability to treat people with respect more than anything. Because if you go around disrespecting everyone, like I said when I was over at that bus stop, if I go out my way to basically slag people off, I better not be surprised if I get a punch in the face. Because that's what's going to be the reaction of most people. They're going to basically give you the eye, say, what the you say to me, and what have you. My family taught me right, I like to think. Did they have a few wobblies along the way? Oh, of course they did. And of course I did. I'm not perfect. I'm not sitting here claiming to be polishing that halo. I'm not sitting here claiming to be God's greatest gift. Cold bit of truth is, I was an irritating little shit. I mean, I've got loads of crimes. Maybe not war crimes, unless we're talking about XCOM, where I accidentally blow up a civilian. Anyway, I've got a lot of crimes under my belt. Putting toothpaste on teddies, putting quavers in the VCR, putting cheese on toast and then putting the cheese on the toast in the toaster. Like, I could think of a whole bunch of shit that I did. I even stole my granddad's whiskey every now and again. I would just get a puffy, I'd go to the cupboard, climb up, grab the whiskey, and I'd just walk around the house with it. So I'm not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. But in all seriousness, my family did raise me right. And they raised me right because they have common sense. And that is not something you can simply teach at schools. That is something you have to be raised up with. It's not something that you can say, oh, you see these group of people? You need to treat them with respect. And be like, wow, I really appreciate your culture. No. People need to research cultures. People need to research religions. People, in general. Like, they need to learn all of the atrocities and all the positives. Like, we hate the slave trade. Black people coming out of that, back in the day, fucking awful. But we abolished the slave trade. And now at least black people can try and enjoy the same rights that we people have. And that's not something, as I said, that was taught to me at school. Maybe the slave trade was, but that's about it. Outside of that, I didn't learn respect through school. I learned respect through common sense. That is not something that schools can teach. Only your family can teach you that. So make sure we start drilling a hole into their heads, the school's heads, the teachers' heads, that if they want to push this DEI crap, we're going to push back hard. And remember, folks, I'm not going to sugarcoat a motherfucking thing. I'm not going to mince my words. I will say it exactly how it is, and I will do my best not to bullshit you. But we have to remember that there is one thing, at least, that schools cannot teach. We need to raise our children through love and show them that the real strength does not come from supporting ideologies. It does not come from learning about a certain skin colour's history. It does not come from basically hating being white. It comes from the very thing that parents try to raise us on. And that thing is love.